Amazing. So we're going to start standing today. So finding comfortable standing position. And everyone can see me, I'm guessing you can all see me okay and you can all hear me okay, but do feel free to unmute yourself and flag up if that changes. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to start to get into the soles of the feet a little bit. So my knees are soft, I've not got straight legs, got nice soft knees, and I'm just starting to find a little bit of a shift forwards and backwards onto the soles of the feet. As I'm doing that, I'm lifting the toes and spreading them as wide as I can. So I'm finding a nice kind of easy movement, just kind of helping my body to go, oh yeah, that's where I am now. Whatever's already happened today, whatever's still to come, I'm here in this room, I'm in this body, helping the head to catch up with where the body's got to. And then we're going to let that movement travel from the inside arch of the foot to the outside arch of the foot. So just finding a little bit of movement here. Nice. I've got my toes lifted up. That's kind of helping to get into the plantar fasciitis, but if that's uncomfortable, you can have the feet down. And we're just finding a little bit of movement, just helping to collect awareness back into the feet here. We spend a lot of time with our feet kind of bunched up into quite restrictive shoes a lot of the time. And so we get all this feedback into our feet when we do this. And then we're going to let ourselves come into our center. So we want to find that point where we're not leaning too far forwards, we're not leaning too far back, we're not kind of dropping over to one side or over to the other. Find your place where you're just right in the middle. And then see if you can start to press into the feet. And as you do that, it's almost like you're trying to screw the feet into the ground. So you're trying to draw the heels towards one another, the toes away from one another, and finding that connection with the ground. And as you do that, you're going to start to feel that into your knees, all the way up into the hips. So you start to get a little bit more awareness through the rest of the body here as well. See if you can bring your head stacked on top of your neck. So it sounds like a really obvious thing to say, but we often end up with our head forwards. And then there's a whole chain reaction of pressure that happens through the body there. So with the head stacked right on top, we can start to get into our core a little bit without even trying here as well. And once we're there, let's turn the head over towards one side, bring the chin down towards the chest, and we're going to roll through and just start to find gentle movement here. So I'm not trying to force anything. It's not about creating a movement that's right or wrong, just about unsticking and finding that connection into the top of the shoulders, releasing any tension that might have been building up into that space today. And then let's bring the head back lightly on top. So from here, I'm going to bring my thumb onto one collarbone and my finger onto the other. So just onto this part, these two bony bits here. And then the hand can come on top. As we breathe in, let's release the head all the way back. And then breathing out, bring the chin down. Breathing in, head releases back, and breathing out, chin back down towards the ground. So as we breathe in, we feel a bit of a stretch through the front of the throat into the jaw. And as we breathe out, feeling the stretch into the back of the neck and the shoulders. Let's go for one last one there, releasing the head back and then chin down towards the chest. Good job. From here, let's find a little bit more movement through the spine. So we're going to circle into the shoulders. I'm getting warm already. Oh my goodness, it's getting serious. So we're circling the shoulders in one direction. Again, it doesn't matter how big, how small, how fast or how slow, just finding gentle movement here. And then let's find a few in the other direction. So I'm moving around as I do this so you can start to see different angles, but you can stay still, it's fine. Nice. Let's bring the hands onto the shoulders and then start to draw circles with the elbows. So with all of this, we're looking to copy the movement rather than the shape, because all of us will come into slightly different variations of this. So rather than, oh, Esther's able to do that bit, just find a comfortable range of movement for your body. Nice. And then we're going to change directions, a few in the other direction as well. Again, all we're doing here is helping our brain and our body to go, oh yeah, okay, I can move this bit here and I'm a bit more aware of this part of my body now. So when it comes to moving through some of the things that we'll be doing, we help the head and the body to join up together again. Let's bring the arms a little bit longer and then we're going to circle around. Again, this movement might be quite small. It might be quite big. It doesn't matter. It can be fast. It can be slow. Just finding that unsticking through the shoulders into the ribs as well. Nice, last one. Good. And from here, we're going to start to explore some movement that's going to send the spine into as many different directions as possible. So to begin with, let's bring the chin towards the chest And then we're going to drop into the shoulders. We're going to see if we can start to roll down through the spine. The knees can be soft. And we're going to roll down as much as we can to wherever we get to. So it's not about trying to touch the ground. I am a little bit hypermobile, which means I'm a little bit like Elastigirl. And so you're looking to find where you get to rather than, oh my goodness, I should have my feet. I should have my toes to my hands. Once you get to your furthest point, we're rolling back up. Chin down towards the chest. See if you can get into the shoulders, into the ribs, into the mid-back, into the lower back. So you're seeing if you can move the spine in order. Nice. We're going to roll back up one last time. So press into the big toes, head heavy, knees soft, restacking bone by bone. Really good. If in doubt, slow it down, make it even slower. We're going to end up on the floor this time. So chin towards the chest, shoulders, ribs, mid-back, lower back, knees stay soft so we're not aggravating anything around the sciatic area. And then we're going to bend into the knees and come down onto the ground with as much or as little dignity as you like. I don't mind. I'm the only one that's being recorded, so you guys are fine. We're going to come down to lying on the back. So soles of the feet onto the floor. Let's, to begin with, walk the feet wide. And then we're going to drop both knees towards one side. Doesn't matter which one. And then take your time to bring knees back into the center. I'm going to drop both knees towards that second side. So rather than, I must now get my knee to this place, let's just think about moving. So you'll be able to feel a shift across the lower back. You'll be able to feel a shift across the soles of the feet as well. Let's go for one more on each side, just gently mobilizing fronts of the hips, lower back, soles of the feet. Nice. And when you're ready, let's bring soles of the feet onto the floor. This time we want to see if we can feel the heels with the fingertips. So they're quite close in towards the hips. To begin with, you might want to have your hands onto the hips, and we're going to press lower back into the ground as much as we can. So there's a bit of a tilt into the pelvis, and then breathing in, just coming back to neutral. Breathing out, lower back pressing into the ground, and then breathing in, back into neutral. So we're not kind of arching, sticking up the ribs or anything like that. Let's go for one more. Lower back pressing into the ground as you breathe out, breathing in, back into neutral. From here, we're going to layer that up. So lower back presses into the ground as you breathe out, and then press into the feet and start to peel the spine up bone by bone. So you're coming up towards the shoulders. As you breathe out, let's reverse that movement. So shoulders lower, mid-back lowers, ribs lower, lower back, and then the hips. So rather than just kind of this movement where you're just hinging up and down, you're using this movement to ripple all the way up. So we're using those lovely strong muscles into the glutes and then rolling all the way back down. Nice. Let's go for a couple more. So if I'm talking too fast or too slow, please go at the pace that your body's guiding you in. So as you breathe in, you come out, and as you breathe out, you're lowering all the way down. Breathing in, lower back lifts. Breathing out, lower back into the ground, rippling through the spine all the way up. And then let's lower it all the way down again. Keep that tilt into the pelvis so that the glutes are supported until that final little bit. Last one, lower back lifts. Breathe out, lower back into the ground, rolling through the spine, rippling up towards the ceiling and towards the shoulders. And then placing the spine down in order. Really good. Let's bring both hands onto the knees. Hands onto the knees. As we breathe out, lower back into the ground, knees into the chest. As we breathe in, you make space for the breath. Breathing out, squeezing the knees in. Breathing in, draw the knees away. Let's take one more. So again, finding that pelvic tilt here, getting into the hips, lower back. Good. From here, both legs lengthen. So we're going to have both legs long across the floor, both arms reaching above the head. Let's reach right hand away from right foot, and then left hand away from left foot. We're going to find two more on each side. So right hand reaching away, left hand reaching away. You'll be able to feel the pelvis moving in the center. So we're going to go for one more on each side, full body stretch. Good. And then from here, hands back onto the knees. We're going to make our way up to seated. You can either roll to the side and use the hands to come up. if you're able to, a really good movement for the spine here, hands behind the thighs, and we're really rounding into the back of the body. So again, we're starting to get that feedback from the ground all the way through the muscles along the spine, up into the shoulders, like a little mini massage. Good. Awesome. However we've done it, we're coming up into a seated position. Well done, guys. This is the best reason I do my job. I get to do that as my job. It's brilliant. So it doesn't matter where the legs are. I'm going to sit like this so you can see the angle a little bit better. I'm going to have my right hand down, reaching the left arm up and then reaching over. So what I'm not doing here is trying to squash down as much as I can. I'm almost using that bottom hand to press up. So I'm getting loads of space into the ribs and then back into the center. And let's go for that on that second side. So really finding as much space for the breath as you can. Let's go for one more on each side. Really nice. You'll be able to feel the breath expanding into that lovely extra space that you've created. And then from here, we're going to go for a twist. So breathing in, the arms lift. And we can have one arm forwards, one arm back. Really doesn't matter which one. Breathing in, back into the center. And breathing out towards that second side. What I'd encourage you to do here is rather than moving the arms, think about turning the ribs towards the side, because often we move our shoulders and we forget about the rest of the body. So the more that you can turn the ribs to the side, the more of that spinal rotation will start to get, and you'll feel the difference yourselves as you do that. Let's go for one more on each side. Really nice, guys, lovely. Finishing to that second side when you're ready. Last movement here, hands onto the knees, and I'm going to round back. So really press between the shoulder blades, and then breathing in, squeeze shoulder blades together. Breathing out, rounding back. Breathing in, shoulder blades together. Let's go for one more. Breathing out, and then breathing in. Awesome. We're going to make our way to all fours. So if you want to have any cushions or blankets under the knees, if they feel a bit tender, awesome. We're going to spread the fingers as wide as we can. Any discomfort into the hands, have the hands a bit further forwards. And you're seeing if you can find a huge handful of, I don't know, raspberries or a full octave on a piano. And then we're just finding a little bit of a shift side to side. So we've just spent a bit of time working through our spine, sending our spine in different directions. And so we're giving our wrists a little bit of love here as well. And then we're going to come forwards and backwards. So remember, we are copying the movement, not the shape. So it's not about, I must have my shoulders at that exact angle. It's listening into where your body needs to go and finding a little bit of a stretch, but not too much. Nice. When you're ready, we're going to draw navel towards the spine, press into the shoulders, rounding back, looking at your tummy. Breathing in, reverse that movement, looking forwards. Exhaling, rounding back. And then breathing in, space into the front of the body. Nice. Let's go for another couple. Fingers stay spread right, wide. Nice. And last one when you're ready. Breathing out, rounding. Breathing in, gazing forwards. There's a couple of options here. For lots of people, this position can feel really strong, either into the feet or into the hips or into the knees. So if you're one of those people, or if that's feeling less comfortable today, you can come down onto the forearms so that you're keeping a bit more of a right angle into the hips. If it feels okay in your body, you're welcome to come back into child's pose. Either way, we're getting a stretch into the upper body here. So let's start to walk both hands over to one side. Again, doesn't matter which side. I'm going to change angle so you can see what I'm going on about. So if my hips are lifted, I'd be doing the same thing, just having one hand a little bit further forwards. And let's start to walk it over to that second side. Again, whether the hips are up or whether you have the hips back, really doesn't matter. Nice. And then let's come all the way back into the center. Tuck the toes under, and we're going to walk the hands back towards the feet. So you're going to find yourself in a forward fold towards the back of where you were a minute ago. You can hold on to opposite elbows. Knees stay nice and soft. So this is a stretch for the spine rather than the hamstrings. Hamstrings might be feeling a little bit tender, particularly if we've been doing 10Ks and half marathons and all of that wonderful stuff. We can find a sway through from side to side. Personally, in my body, I find a little bounce feels quite good here. It kind of releases my spine a bit more. And then let's release the arms And we're going to restack, rolling through bone by bone. Nice, roll into the shoulders, good. So that's our spinal articulation. We've essentially moved the spine in as many different directions as we can. We're going to warm up a little bit before we come into that next bit. So from here, lifting the hands up to the sky and then breathing out, lift up and away. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about this because if I do this and then this, can you see I'm bending from my mid back? And that's going to feel quite uncomfortable. I'm going to see if I can lift from my hips. So as I breathe in, I lift up, and it's almost like I'm lifting up and away, trying to hinge from the pelvis to come forward. So my hands might come to my shins, maybe they come to the ground, it really doesn't matter. As I breathe in, hands coming onto the shins if they're not there already, and I'm looking forward, so I've got a flat back here. Good. Let's bring the hands down, and we'll bring the knees down. Good, so I'm in a low plank here. I've got my knees back rather than all fours. From here, let's bring the belly down towards the floor. Good, and then hands can come forwards. So with the hands forwards, we're able to find a little bit of space for the breath. So again, rather than kind of squashing into the back, just find that lift into the chest and then easing back down. Let's find another one there. You can change the position of the hands, breathing in to come up a little bit, and then breathing out to come down. We're going to meet back in a downward dog. So hands towards the shoulders, tuck the toes under. You can come back through the knees or you can come back into plank and then lift up. So the idea here is that we want to have space in the spine. So rather than kind of rounding forwards and trying to have straight legs, I'm pressing into my hands, finding a bit of a pedal through the legs, through one side and then through the other. And then wherever I've got to, I'm going to walk to the top of the mat, or my imaginary mat. I don't use a mat personally. And then breathing in, hands towards the shins, flat back. Breathing out, easing down, forward fold. Again, knees nice and soft. And then rising up, press into the big toes, all the way up to the sky. And then hands by the side. Let's do one more like that. Breathing in, lifting up. Breathing out. Again, that sense of lifting up and away, rather than just folding from the mid back. Breathing in halfway. Hands down, feet back. Find your way either to plank or the knees down, doesn't matter. And we're going to meet on the ground. Nice, so bring the hands forwards, lift through the chest. So I'm keeping my ribs down, which means I'm not kind of compressing my lower back. And then easing down. Let's go for one more. Breathing in, find that lift up. And breathing out. Hands towards the shoulders, tuck the toes under. Find your way there. So it might be via the knees down. It might be that you kind of come into a plank and then work your way up. But we're looking to unstick here. So rather than, I must now hold this shape and add loads of tension through my body, how does it feel if you can just find a little bit more space? Nice. When you're ready, we're going to step or walk to the top. Hands towards the feet, no, feet towards the hands. Hands towards the shins, find that lift. Breathing out, forward fold, knees soft. And then lifting tall towards the sky. Good, hands back towards the hips. Nice, let's find a bend into the knees. Good, lovely comfy chair. So your feet might be a little bit wide. You can find space. If it feels better to have the arms a bit wider, awesome. From here, let's bring both hands down and we'll step that left foot back. Left knee can come down and we'll reach and find a twist. Good, twisted lunge. Let's bring both hands down, both knees back, and we're going to lower down towards the ground. Good. Let's bring the hands forwards, find that lift into the chest, and then hands towards the shoulders, back into our downward dog again. Again, you can pedal through the legs. You can shake the head no, you can nod the head yes. Really nice. Let's bring ourselves to the top where the hands are again. So you can step, you can walk. Doesn't matter how you get there, we're meeting in the same position. Hands to the shins to lift up. Breathing out to fold. Bend into the knees. Lovely comfy chair, said no one ever. And then coming back up. Let's do more of those on the other side. So bending into the knees, nice comfy chair. And then both hands come down. This time right foot steps back. Right knee down, left arm lifts. So finding that twist towards the bent knee back into the center, both knees back. Good, let's lower down. Again, see if you can imagine straight line, crown of the head, shoulders, ribs, hips, rather than kind of sticking anything up. Nice. From here, hands can come forward. Lots of space for the breath as we breathe in, breathing out, easing down. Hands towards the shoulders, tuck the toes under, and we're meeting back in our downward facing dog again. So I'd encourage you to have the knees a little bit soft here. It can feel really good even to bring a belly to the thighs and find that length through the spine. Wherever we've got to, we're going to meet back where the hands are. Take your time to do it. Hands towards the shins, hands towards the ground, and then lifting back into our chair. Awesome. And then coming back to standing. So we should be feeling a little bit warmer by now, which means that we can start to work on some of our core stability. So I would like to today work on some things lying down. So we're going to make our way down onto the ground again. And the reason why I love initially starting this stuff lying down is because we've got so much more feedback from the ground when we're doing this. So I'm just going to double check that I've got the right thing. I'm just going to double check my notes, ladies and gentlemen. Sure we go. Here we go. Yes, perfect. So I'm finding my way back onto the ground, soles of the feet onto the floor, and I'm going to really concentrate on bringing the lower back into the ground here. So the whole idea with stability and this core work that we do is not about these six-pack muscles. It's about the transverse abdominal muscles and stabilizing the movement between the hips and the ribs and that wonderful space all the way between. So as we breathe out, lower back presses into the ground as if you're trying to squash your hand underneath it. And we're going to see if we can keep that movement, that stability there. So a way that we can do this is by breathing in, and then as we breathe out, it's almost like we're kind of pressing the breath out and getting that sense of almost like we're corseting the muscles around the center. So what I'm not doing is bracing the muscles just across the front of the belly. I'm getting that sense of everything hugging in around the side. A really good way to check that is if once you've done that, you've recruited those muscles and you press into the sides, you can feel that they're firm there. If it's just into the front, then you've braced into the rectus abdominal muscles. Those are the crunch muscles, and we're kind of losing all these other wonderful muscles that we can use. Let's try that one more time. So breathing in, breathing out, and then just double checking into the side. You should still be able to breathe. I'm still talking and I've got those muscles recruited here. So from here, hands towards the shoulders. And as I breathe out, I'm going to lift my head and my shoulders up. Breathing in, back into the center. Nice. Exhaling, pressing up, keeping those muscles still engaged, and then breathing in, easing back down. Let's go for one more. Breathing out, and then breathing in. Good. From here, I'm going to bring my right leg is going to find a right angle. I'm going to lift that leg up. As I breathe out, bringing that foot down, breathing in, swapping it over. So what's happening here is as I'm finding that movement, particularly as I swap from one side to the other, I want to make sure that my shoulders, my ribs, my hips, nothing else is moving. So breathing out, find that lift up. Breathing in, back into the center. Breathing out, find that lift up. Breathing in, back into the center. Lower back still engaged. You can soften there for a moment. Just kind of let go of that tension we've been holding in the body. We're going to add on some other options. That might be quite enough for this evening. So you're welcome to kind of play around with where you get to. These are options rather than a game of Esther says. So breathe, let's bring lower back into the ground. So find that little tilt into the pelvis. You'll already feel the ribs drawing towards the hips. Take a breath in, breathing out, a sense of hugging everything back into the center, hands towards opposite shoulders. This time, so you can either have that movement tapping up and then tapping down, or you can lift both legs. So I've got a right angle with both legs here, And then exhaling, tapping down, breathing in, back into the center, breathing out. A few things to look out for. What's happening with your lower back? Is the lower back still in contact? Are you able to still feel into the sides of the ribs there? Nice. And if you've got your hands to opposite shoulders rather than hands down, sometimes we don't realize how much weight we're bracing through the hands. So hands to opposite shoulders is going to isolate that movement and stop us from bracing ourselves through the upper arms as well. Nice, last one. Good. And then let's bring both feet down. Good. Another option to explore, option rather than Esther says, so we can layer that on. It might be that we stay with the feet down. It might be that we come into that tabletop position, lower back into the ground. Another option, so lower back, whatever option we're doing, lower back is the clue here. We can have the knees down or the knees lifted, exhaling, pressing the leg away, breathing in, back into the center, exhaling, pressing away. As you find that move from one side to the other, are you able to do that without everything else moving? So I've mentioned already, I'm a little bit hypermobile, a little bit like Elastigirl. And my body is really, really wanting to move around as much as it can here. So I'm having to work really hard to keep that stability into my center. So if you guys are finding it hard, don't worry, I'm 100% with you on this one. Last option to explore. So you've probably seen it before. You see lots of people doing this or something like that. Lovely movement, not really doing a huge amount there. So the option that we've got to explore here, rather than kind of flailing the body around, if we're talking about stability, we're thinking about how can I keep everything firm and stable as I find that movement. So the last option to explore, rather than twisting my upper body, as I lengthen my right leg, I'm squeezing my right rib towards my left hip. Tiny, tiny movement. Back into the center. Left leg lengthens, left rib towards right hip. It is such a tiny movement. I'm going to change angle in case that means that you can see how small this movement is. Tiny, tiny movement. So my elbows, if your elbows are coming really far over, you've gone too far. Tiny, tiny squeeze, like you're trying to draw opposite rib towards opposite hip. Opposite rib towards opposite hip. Tight is going to change the way you do crunches, guys. I've retrained my husband on how to do these as well. It gets right up into those lovely, juicy core muscles. Nice. You can be doing this with the feet down and finding those toe taps up, or you can be doing it with the leg lifted. Nice. Last one. When you've done the same on both sides, you bring the feet down and we're going to drop both knees towards one side, all the way back into the center, and then let's bring both knees towards that second side. So again, just gentle release. There can be an instinct when we've been doing core work to hug the knees into the chest, but actually a twist is quite a nice way of balancing out that movement without kind of squashing the muscles that we've just been working into too much as well. Awesome. So from here, we're going to come into some functional stretching. So to do that, let's find our way into a seated position. So for some of us here, it's going to be good to have a cushion underneath us. So it's going to lift the hips and it's going to help with the tilt in the pelvis. You can sit on a book, you can sit on a, there you go, I've got a book of poetry here you can sit on, a jumper, and that's just going to help to slightly tilt the pelvis. We don't need all this fancy equipment that we end up thinking that we need. Just a little bit of a tilt into the pelvis. So from here, I'm going to bring my right leg out to the side and my left knee is bent. And then I'm going to lift up the ribs. So again, that same idea, rather than just twisting from my mid back, lift up. So you're lifting the upper body away from the lower body, turn the ribs towards the straight leg. And rather than, I need to reach the foot, I'm going to see if I can draw, lifting up, drawing my heart towards my toes. Now, obviously that's not going to happen, or hopefully it won't. This front knee can be soft, so you can bend into the knee as much as you want to. It's quite a strong stretch into the hamstring. And then we're going to roll all the way back up. And then breathing out, easing the chest towards the toes. So again, not trying to get head towards the knee, keeping lots of space for the breath. Am I able to breathe here? Am I starting to squash the breath? That's a little clue as to what's happening. Nice. So rather than thinking, I must get my hand to that exact point, and that's going to be the stretch, we're starting to say to the body, oh, we're just headed in this general direction. So having a polite conversation with the muscles in the hamstring rather than trying to force it into anything. Next time that we come forwards, we're going to pause there. So it might be that the hands stay quite close towards you. You might have the hands further forwards. You can soften into the knee, bend the knee as much as you want to here as well. It really doesn't matter. All of us will feel that differently into that right hamstring. Nice. From wherever we've got to, we're going to walk the hands up the leg and then turn the torso towards the bent knee. So finding a twist towards the knee now. I've got that leg still active. And notice the difference for yourself. So if you have that foot kind of just switched off, it's going to feel really different than if you have that foot active. You're going to get into different muscles, different tendons there. You'll probably feel that a bit more into the calf. Again, if you're experiencing plantar fasciitis, you might want to soften into the foot a little bit just so you've not added to the tension there. Let's sit up tall in the seat and then breathing out a little bit more of a spiral towards the bent knee. Let's go for one more. Breathing in, sitting up tall. Breathing out like you're trying to just get a millimeter further round. Nice. And then we're going to come into a side stretch. So same side hand as the leg, right hand towards the right leg, left hand towards the lower back. Again, I'm going to shuffle around so you can see what I'm going on about. So we're going to feel this quite low down into the lower back. This is the quadratus lumborum. This is a very sneaky little muscle that's quite hard to stretch into. If you have seen any yoga on Instagram, you might have seen people getting all weird and bendy and kind of human pretzel-y. I can make that shape in my body. This, I feel much more effectively. It doesn't look quite as impressive on Instagram, but I'm really getting into that muscle much more than I am if I'm turning myself into a human pretzel. So I'm using the hand onto that straight leg to keep turning round towards the bent knee. So it's a twist. And then I'm just easing diagonally kind of towards the top corner of the room a little bit. So I'm not trying to come down as far as I can. Find the point where you feel that conversation into the lower back and don't go past it. Nice. There's also the option to lift the arm or to have the hand over the head. But again, I find with my hand on my lower back, I get it just as much as if I've got the arm lifted. And what can sometimes happen is you're focusing so much that you actually start to do this rather than finding that twist. And then let's come back into the center. Let's bring both soles of the feet together. And you can have, again, you can choose this one. All of us will be different here. My husband, when he does this, he has his knees up here. He does a lot of mountain biking, so he's got super strong hip flexors. You can have the feet really close into you, or they might be quite far away. It really doesn't matter. It's different muscles, different ways that the hips hang together. And just to release into these muscles, you can just gently butterfly into the knees. Nice. From here, let's bring the feet wide. Nice. And again, I'm going to see if I can, rather than rounding into my mid-back here, I'm going to see if I can lift up. So for some of us, that might mean finding a book, sitting onto the book, and that's just going to help tilt the pelvis. You can do the same by sitting onto a cushion or a jumper as well. So rather than reaching forwards from the mid-back, lifting up tall, and then walk the hands forwards. So again, what's happening with the breath? Can I actually breathe here? Or am I starting to squash it up into the top of my collarbones? Let's go for a couple more breaths. So breathing in to find that lift up, breathing out maybe a little bit further forwards. This is stretch into the groin, so you'll be able to feel that into the inner thighs. Maybe the hamstrings as well, if they're particularly strong for you at the moment. Nice. And again, it's not about, oh, can I get into the biggest shape that I can? This is not Instagram stuff. It's about working with your body, getting that functional stretch that's going to be really helpful and practical as well. Nice. And let's take our time to come back into the center. So from here, we're going to bring the right leg over the top of the left. Nice. So for some of us, it will be like this. For others, you might need a bit of space so you can keep the foot in front of that straight leg. We're going to go for a twist. So rather than, I've moved my upper body, but nothing else is really joined in. Let's see if we can turn the ribs. So again, you're going to lift up tall and then turn the ribs towards the bent knee. Nice. So whether your foot is on that side or that side of the leg, sitting up tall and then find a little bit more. So you're turning the ribs, not just the shoulders. So a little thing to check here. If you lift that back hand, are you able to still be in the same position? So it should be that that movement's coming from the spine rather than having to prop ourselves up. Nice. Let's go for one more breath, sitting up tall, and then a little bit more of a spiral through the spine. And then take your time to come all the way back into the center. Well done, guys. Doing great. Last little one here. I'm going to draw the knee towards my shoulder. So it's a diagonal right knee towards left shoulder. So I might feel that straight away. We're looking to feel a sensation into the outside of the hip. For some of us, that will mean that we walk the foot out. So this has got nothing to do with, oh, well, if you can get your foot there, then you're better. It's all to do with how your hips hang together. And there's massive amount of bony variation in the hips. So I'm not doing a twist, I'm keeping straight forwards, knee towards the shoulder, and then waiting until I can find that juicy bit. It's the piriformis, I call it the piri-piri, spicy little muscle in the glutes. Nice. And then let's take our time to do the same on the other side. So this time it will be, yes, left leg out, right knee bends. And again, we're going to go for that lifting up away from the ground, turn towards the straight leg, reaching up with the arms, and then forwards rather than down. Nice. So it doesn't, rather than, oh my goodness, I must get my hand towards my foot, we're just feeling that sensation into the back of the hamstring, breathing in to come up, and breathing out to ease forwards. Yeah, really nice, guys. Well done. Lovely, Sue. Let's go for one more here. So lifting up, forwards rather than down. Can I still breathe? That's the clue. What's happening with the toes? Does it feel better to switch them off a bit or to have them more active? Nice. And then from here, walking the hands back up, we're going to go for the twist towards the knee. So again, sitting up tall and then start to turn the ribs towards the knee. Sitting up tall and keep on turning. You can use the hand against the straight leg to find a little bit more resistance. And then the hand behind can just start to walk a little bit further behind each time. Again, can I still breathe? Am I breathing up into my shoulders right up here? Or am I able to get a little bit more space here? Good. We're going to go for that lower back stretch. So hand onto the straight leg. Keep the twist. Other hand can come to the lower back. And then we just start to draw that left shoulder a little bit diagonally towards the knee. Keep that top shoulder up. So the moment that we start to twist forwards, that's when we start to lose that sensation here. Hand can stay on the lower back, or we can reach it up to the sky, or we can reach it over the ear. Again, it will feel different on each side. So rather than, I must now do this shape, see how it feels. Might feel, oh yeah, actually I feel it more there, or feels more helpful to be in this position. Keep using that bottom hand onto the leg to find that rotation. Nice, maybe we drop down a little bit further. Again, have that conversation with your body. Hey body, how you doing? Good. And then let's come all the way back up. We are going to cross, so right leg straight, left foot either out to the side or crossing over, depending on how much space we've got. Again, I'm not just twisting here, I'm sitting up nice and tall and then finding a bit of a spiral round. Sitting up nice and tall, a little bit more of a spiral round. Turn the ribs rather than the shoulders. And again, if I lift that back hand, am I still there? Or am I starting to drop back into it? Nice. And then coming all the way back into the center. Knee diagonally across to the shoulder. So we're hugging the knee diagonally across. Maybe you feel that straight away. Again, it might feel different on this side as well. Or maybe the foot walks out a little bit. Find the point where you go, oh yeah, that feels like a helpful conversation with my body, rather than, oh my goodness, And not looking to shout with the body. Nice, guys. And we're always breathing. Find the breath in. And then as you breathe out, you can hug the knee a little bit closer. Awesome, team. Well done. And then let's slowly, slowly release off. We're going to bring soles of the feet onto the floor and drop both knees to one side. And then back into the center, both knees to the other side. Let's go for one more on each side. Find that gentle release. Really nice. Oh my goodness, guys, time flies. Maybe not for you, but it has for me. I'm conscious of time. So I'm going to start to bring our session this evening to a little bit of a close in case anyone's got any questions. So what I'll do is I'll stop recording so that if anyone has any questions that they're not immortalized. So our American lady will say, recording has stopped.